Hi Melissa, so you told me safety was important to you, so I'd like to explain some of the safety features on the 2014 Toyota Tundra. So the very first thing we have is the STAR safety system with Toyota, standard in all our vehicles actually. But the STAR safety system includes a number of different elements. The first one is ABS, which stands for anti-locking braking system. Simply, anti-locking braking system gives you the maximum brake force, but yet allows you to steer around objects you're trying to avoid. If you remember from the past, your family, your father or mother could have said when they're teaching you to drive, pump the brakes. We don't have to do that anymore because it's all done electronically. You see, the last thing you want to have happen is have the wheels stop turning. When the wheels lock up, you skid right into what you're trying to avoid. So ABS gives you the ability to give you the maximum braking force, but yet still allows the wheel to turn so you can avoid that object. We also have something in here called BA, which stands for brake assist. Here's how brake assist works. You're traveling down the road, you see a yellow light. Well, if you're probably like most Calgarians, you might speed through it. But if you were going to stop at that yellow light, you would slowly ease on the brake, right? So take the same situation. Unfortunately, this time you drop something in your seat, you're leaning over, you look up and you see the car ahead is stopping because of the light. So what do? You quickly hit the brake. It's that quickness that you hit the brake with that determines it must be an emergency situation. So brake assist works by how quickly you hit the brake and applies additional brake force into the lines to help you stop quicker. And it also compensates for the force that you put the brake pedal onto. For instance, if you don't push the brake through quickly or deep enough, it applies extra brake force to compensate for those who can't push down on the brake pedal as quickly as others, or as deep as others, excuse me. We also have EBD, which stands for electronic braking distribution. Simply, it distributes brake force to where it's needed, front to back or side to side. If you were driving this vehicle and you had an emergency situation and you were just in the vehicle by itself, most of the braking is done in the front. Now let's take an example where you have a load in the back, or perhaps you have a bunch of people in here. Now you've got additional load on the vehicle. Therefore, the load determines how much brake force the vehicle is going to need front to back. So it might put a little bit more brake force towards the back. Still, most of the brake force will be done in the front, but it will compensate giving the back brakes some additional brake force. We also have, as well, traction control in this vehicle. So theoretically, when a vehicle is driving, all wheels should be turning at the same rate, at the same speed, same time. But what happens is one of the wheels hits some ice and starts to spin quicker than the other wheel. The sensor, or the wheel sensor, picks that up and says there must be a problem. So it applies some brake force to that wheel and sends some of the power that would have gone to that wheel over to the other wheel that has traction. And at the same time, it reduces the engine output. And it does that until the wheels both gain original traction and go at the same speed, and then we're back to regular driving. As well, we also have VSC, which stands for Vehicle Stability Control. Some people know it as Vehicle Skid Control. And here's how this works. When you're driving in a truck, have you ever had the time where the back end kind of flips out, right? Understeer, or it could be an oversteer the other direction. It's kind of unnerving. So what we have in here is a yaw sensor in the vehicle. And when that happens, we actually apply different brake forces to different wheels. One to the front, one to the back, or vice versa. And it really snaps the truck back in line. In fact, what you're going to see is you're going to see an orange light blinking on the dash, and you can hear an audible sound that says the VSC is on, working in conjunction with the traction control. We also have smart stop technology in this vehicle. Any event by mistake that you happen to hit the brake pedal and the gas at the same time, the brake will override the gas so that you don't have the misfortune of keep traveling down the road. Okay, Melissa, a couple interesting things about the 2014 Tundra. Starts right down here. You said performance is important to you. This little thing right down here, do you see that? It's called an air dam or an air spat. Oh, it looks pretty harmless, but it actually serves a purpose. If you didn't have that there, here's what happens. You're driving down the road, the wind will come up underneath here, hit the back of the hub right there, and it acts as drag. And it really slows the vehicle down. And it also consumes fuel. So what Toyota designed, very simple, and most vehicles don't have something like this. By putting this on, when the wind hits this, it forces wind or air down and displaces it around the tire. And in fact, they've done this, Toyota's done this, and put the vehicle into, you know where airplanes go? They go into those wind tunnels, and they put blue or yellow smoke on it. You can see how it goes around the airplane wings. They did the same thing with this, and that's what they discovered. By doing that, you get less air acting as drag in the back, and that will improve your gas fuel economy, and as well the engine performance. couple things here. If you go ahead, hit this light, hit it. Right, this is called a Lexon headlight, and so it's resistant to rocks. So unless it's monster rock, other than that, I don't think you'd hit. But so you're not going to have to worry about replacing it. This also has an LED light here, very similar to what Audi had for all those years. So real clear. If you come around to here, here's the heart and guts. You told me performance is important, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about this particular vehicle. Engine. It's a 5.7 liter, produces 381 horsepower, 401 foot-pounds of torque. It is a dual VVTi. VVTi stands for Variable Valve Timing with Intelligence. Simply, it makes your engine breathe easier. And it does it by controlling the valve overlap. It's kind of like the difference between running on a treadmill with a cold and running on a treadmill without a cold. And it has three great benefits. First is better fuel economy. Number two is lower emissions, and number three is more horsepower. Made it to this engine is a 6-speed transmission. What's interesting about this 6-speed transmission is the fact that not only does it have an engine cooler, or transmission cooler, excuse me, it also has a transmission warmer. And why that's important, you told me earlier that you're going to be towing. Well, if you're towing anything in the wintertime, one of the things about why you want to have a transmission warmer is for this reason. You start your car up, right? It's nice and warm, or your truck, excuse me, and it's nice and warm. And you let it warm up for 10 minutes. Have you ever put a vehicle in gear in the middle of wintertime and then you hear a clunk? Do you know why that is? It's your transmission. Your transmission is cold, your engine's warm. So when you're hauling, especially towing anything in the wintertime, or you have payload, you know what's great that the engine's warm, but you want to make sure the transmission is warm as well. And that's why we have a transmission warmer. Some safety features I'd like to tell you about this vehicle as well, because you told me safety is important. Throughout the vehicle, especially in the front and the back, we have what's called crumple zones. Crumple zones are designed to absorb energy. In fact, if you look at vehicles today, they look and appear as if there's a lot more damage to them. But the reason they're done that way is they're designed that way. Because after all, you know, the truck can be replaced, you and your family can't be replaced. We also have something interesting here that you can actually see. It's below here. The 4 engine mounts. In a severe head-on collision or an offset collision, what the engine is designed to do is travel underneath you. And how? Because the back motor mounts will break away first. So the engine drops down and underneath you and doesn't end up in your lap. A couple other things that we have is these things called hood hooks right here. And what the hood hooks are designed to do, and again, in a severe collision, the last thing you want is to have the hood go through your windshield because you're inside there. So what they're designed to do is catch, and the hood will bend. Check up here, all along here. Do you feel this right here? Just go ahead, pinch that. That's a polymer seal. In fact, that's throughout the whole vehicle, in the bottom of the doors, everywhere. See, when Toyota makes their vehicles, they crimp the metal. But a lot of manufacturers don't seal that, and that's where water and rust gets in. So Toyota's attention to detail. We also have something that looks insignificant, but this rubber dampener works for a number of features, or it does a number of things, excuse me. One of them is that when this hood closes, it prevents wind from getting in there and noise, creating that noise. And it also keeps the engine insulated. Air still gets through here to the radiator, but that's one of the attentions to detail that Toyota does. It's also hydraulic lift. A couple other things about safety I'd like to tell you about. In the sides of the doors, we have side impact beams that come along here. And what they're designed to do is give the vehicle structural rigidity. So in the event that you get hit from the side, it's going to brace that door that much more. For other safety items, we also have several airbags in this vehicle. In this particular vehicle, we also have side curtain airbags that come down here. What they're designed to do is in the side impact, what they'll do is they'll come down and shield the passenger and or the driver on the driver's side head from hitting the window. But there's a number of other airbags in here. We have side seat curtain airbags. They come out like right here, again on a side impact. And what they're designed to do is help prevent injuries to your internal organs like your kidneys, appendix, etc. like that. Also interesting, we got front and passengers airbags. But what's unique about these airbags compared to our competitors is that the driver's has a driver's seat sensor in there. And what the driver's seat sensor does, it detects the relationship and the closeness of the steering wheel to the driver's seat. So if you're too far forward, it is going to deploy the airbag in what's called a multi-stage. So it's a 1, 2. It still comes out quite quickly, but it's still going to lessen that impact. I do recommend that if you're going to pull your seat close, at least to recline the back so you're farther away from an airbag. Remember, airbags are designed to help, and they do save a lot of lives, but they can cause injury if you're too close. In here we have a passenger occupancy sensor, and here's how the passenger occupancy sensor works. In this case, we don't have a steering wheel to worry about, but what we do have to worry about is if there's someone that is very small in here. So what the passenger occupancy sensor is designed to do is in the event of a collision in the front, it's going to deploy either in what's called a single stage, a multi-stage, or 3 not at all. And why not at all? Because if it determines there's too little weight in here, it doesn't want to harm anybody that's small in there, so it might not deploy it. But it doesn't know if it's a bag of groceries, or it doesn't know if it's a small child or a small person. As weight always shifts in an accident because you're moving forward, it can't tell exactly what it is, so it will do one of those 3 things. A couple others attentions to detail might look insignificant to you, but do you see right here, this seal? Everybody has a seal. But in the Toyota world, 2 seals. And why we have 2 seals creates a real quietness in the cabin. So really solid seal, so you don't have to worry about that. And again, down here, some other attentions to detail. It doesn't look like a lot, but one of the things what this rubber strip does is if we didn't have that there, when you get mud and slush in the wintertime, it all comes up on here, so when you get in your vehicle, you're getting mud and slush on your pant legs. By having that there, guess what you don't get right there? As you see, as you come around to the back here, there's tons of room in the Crewmax. Actually, come on in. Just sit up there for a second. See how much room. You can actually get 3 adults in here. Very comfortable, isn't it? I know you're not going to spend time back here, but you'll be spending time up in the front. But there's a ton of room back here. I'd like to show you a few other things about the vehicle. Now, you told me you're towing, and what I'd really like to tell you about is the performance of this vehicle. I mean, you're only as good as your weakest part. So in this particular, we've got a very strong engine, a great 6-speed transmission, but we also have some other things in here. We've got down here, the reason you said your towing was about 4,500 pounds, 5,000 pounds. Right there is the reason why you're going to be able to tow a line. In that rear differential, it is a 4.30. And what that means is that the drive shaft will turn 4.3 times to 1 turn of the wheel. Why that's good for towing is it creates low-end torque. So when you're pulling your trailer, it's going to have the ability at slow speeds or at very high speeds going up a hill to give you that extra oomph to get up the hill. It's really important. The other thing about this particular vehicle is can be really nice for the drive is when you're driving down the road, when you've got a load in here or you're towing, the truck is going to be very stable. One of the reasons it's going to be stable is the way we position our suspension. For instance, this is what we do, which is different than our competitors. If I was to stand like this and you were to push me, it's easy for me to fall over. If I spread my leg like this, my feet out apart, excuse me, and you try to push me, a little bit more difficult. If I do this and you try to push me, very difficult. That's essentially what our Tundra is. Here's how it works. What we actually do is we put our shocks and our suspension on the outside of the frame rail to give us that stability. And then what we do is we offset the shock absorbers like this. That gives us this stability. And why that's important to you is when you're hauling or when you're having payload or you're carrying, you want the truck to be balanced on the back. And that's really important because you don't want the truck jiggling around. Come around here, something really cool. We've got backup sensors and the front sonar. I'm going to show you how they work on the test drive. But what's really interesting, our backup cameras right here. Take this tailgate right here. Just open it up and please just let it go. Try it, just let it go. Hydraulic lift. Really easy. So you don't open it up and it goes bang, wake everybody up in the middle of the morning. And easy enough to put up 1 finger. Simple as that. This is a Toyota trifold tonneau cover. I really recommend that you get one of these. It's this snow out. Very simple. That's an accessory, and I'll gladly show it to you on the website. Folds up, easily put it away, but it keeps everything in here dry. Go ahead, try lifting that up. See how easy that is. Solid. Come on in here if you sit right here. I'd like to share a few of the unique features here with Toyota. We've got a telescopic power steering section right here. We've also got some, remember I was talking to you about the curtain airbags on the side? Well, we can actually turn those off, and why do we want to turn those off? There's a VSC off switch right over here, or excuse me, RSCA switch. That stands for Roll Sensing Curtain Airbag. Why do we want to do that? If you're ever going off-roading and you get on a severe angle, one of the things you don't want to do is have the airbags deploy, because they are designed that if you're at a certain angle, the truck feels it's going to roll, so it deploys the airbag. So in a case like that, you would turn that RSCA and it would turn the airbag, side curtain airbags off. Now keep in mind that if you did actually roll the truck, as soon as you hit the actual sensor, they would deploy. A couple other interesting safety features about this truck is we also have the blind spot monitoring. And how that works is that if you're driving and if you're not doing proper shoulder checks, you never know if there's a motorcycle or car right in your way. So what happens is in the mirror right here, there's going to be illuminating. If there's a car coming up, the sonar picks it up, and there's going to be an orange light in your mirror that's flashing, and that warns you that there's someone right there. We also have Bluetooth, of course, display function, and multi-mode, everything on the steering wheel to make everything easy. I'm just going to come around the other side and show you a couple other things. Melissa, a couple interesting things about the Tundra from the inside. We've got shift on the fly four-wheel drive. Simple. All you can do, you can engage the system into four-wheel high while you're driving. You don't have to stop the vehicle. In fact, you can gauge it up to 100 kilometers an hour. That doesn't mean the vehicle won't go in four-wheel drive. After 100 it will if it's engaged prior, but the question I would ask you is, why would you want to go in four-wheel drive over 100 kilometers an hour? To engage four-wheel low, when we go on a test drive, I'll show you what we actually do. We're actually going to stop the vehicle, put it in neutral, go in four-wheel low, and as you're aware from being a truck owner yourself, the reason you want to go in a four-wheel low is just in case that you're in a deep snow, somewhere you feel uncertain about the footing and conditions underneath the vehicle at slow speeds. We also have a number of features right here. We have something called tow haul mode. What that again is designed for is in those situations, maybe you're pulling your trailer right from the beginning, or maybe you see a big hill coming up. When you push that button, you're actually dropping the gear down one. So if you're in sixth, it will go to fifth, or fourth, it will go down to third. That gives you that extra torque to get you moving in those situations. A couple other features, we've got full navigation here in this particular. We don't have it on right now. What we're in is different features. We can go to XM, FM, whatever you like in here as well. We have 3 climate zones. We have the drivers, passengers, and rear as well. A couple of the unique features. We can drive this vehicle in sequential shift, meaning we can drive it just like a manual, and we're going to do that on the test drive. We put it in a drive, and why do we want to do that? Well, it's fun to drive it that way, but it's also a way you can save money. You want to save some money? Right. Well, we can save money on your maintenance by reducing brake wear. And how we do that is actually by putting it in sequential shift and gearing down and letting the transmission and the engine slow us down instead of using the brakes. We'll show that to you on the test drive. Lots of features to show you in this vehicle, but the best thing that we should do, take it for a drive and see what you feel about this vehicle. A couple last things about the vehicle is we have a standard 3 years or 60,000 kilometer comprehensive warranty, which covers just about everything on the vehicle except for wear and tear items like brake pads, tires, hoses, and belts and things like that. Toyota gives you an additional 2 years and or 40,000 to take you up to 5 years and or 100,000 kilometers on the powertrain. So really, let's take it for a drive and see what it can do. I think you're really going to enjoy this.